All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Trust Engine Mortgage Coach Tuesday interview. For over 15 years, I have interviewed someone that I just think is important. I always have the goal of putting on the best sales meeting in the mortgage industry. It is the first week in May. It is May 2nd, 2023. And this is not just another year in the mortgage business. I do believe there's been some profound changes. You know, the fact that rates went down to 2% and 3%, and 80% of loans in America, mortgages in America are under 4%, which is like 2% lower than what rates are today. I just think there's a whole new era, and I'm calling it the advice era. You need to be a data-driven, advice-driven mortgage advisor. And it's a new game. So I can't think of a better guest than Hunter Marckwardt. I built my career on this phrase, my advice makes a difference. As a top producing loan officer, that was my mantra. I've dedicated my life to being someone whose advice makes a difference. But when I think of Hunter, I think of someone whose leadership makes a difference. I know you probably don't think of yourself like this, Hunter, but I think you are one of the truly profound leaders in the mortgage space. Welcome to the call, brother.
Thank you, Dave. I appreciate it. I always enjoy being here with you. So thanks for I need to hear it too. I think it's probably part of the point of our, talking about leadership. I think so many of us are so knocked down right now on, it's like what we thought of ourselves 2 years ago versus what we think of ourselves today is it's a job to keep our heads held high. So I'll take any compliment you want to give me.
Yeah, well, I think also we just need to get over it. Flip the switch,
Totally.
2020 and 2021, look at the data. They were $4 trillion markets. The mortgage industry is probably going to be around a $2 trillion market. So whatever you did in volume, cut it in half and outperform it. But get over the numbers. I did bill you as a $200 million producer. Even though I know in today's market, first of all, are you going to hit 100 million, this year? Do you feel like?
I hope so. It's kind of, I think this month right now, we're projecting 9 million for May. Last month was like 5 million. So, it's, we're going up and down. And yeah, I think last year I know last year it was 132 million. Year before that, it was, 290. So, obviously a large drop, but my normal years, and I think it's something we all need to be thinking about, is I don't want to make any of these thoughts of my own, but you and I talked about it. I had the opportunity to interview our top producer, Matt, who didn't drop last year, by the way, which is amazing. Literally did not drop in volume, and you think about what that takes. But one of the things he commented on, and I think all of us need to reflect on it, is measure yourself against the market, as opposed to, if the market was down 50% and I was down 40%, that's a bit of a win, So my normal years are, before 2020 and 21, I was always ranging between 110 and 140 million dollars of production. So for last year to be 130, it's like, okay, we'll see about this year.
Yeah. So $100 million producer. Hunter has also been a coach. He's been coached. He's really what I put him in this category is just mortgage badasses. People that kick ass in the mortgage game in every sport in the mortgage game, whether it's coaching, leadership. When I think of leadership, I really created two quadrants for this conversation: leadership with borrowers, leadership with realtors, leadership with team, and then leadership with self, and I actually put self at the bottom because, you can't do those other things if you do not have self-leadership. So you and I came up with this topic via a text back and forth, and then you sent me an email with, just some thoughts that you want to make sure we share. But where do you want to start? What do you want to kick off when we think about leadership in this market?
I think we start with the self. right? I mean, for me anyway, I mean, there's some people that are just motivated and can just move on tactics. Like you just tell them to call 40 people and they call 40 people and they're rock solid. I can't make those calls if I'm not in the right mindset, So I think from, a personal leadership standpoint, I mean, it's like, it goes back to what you and I were talking about in the beginning. I think the people that I talk to on a very consistent basis are you kind of knocked down. And I think you and I were laughing about it on this call. And one of the things that I've been working on is it's funny. My team and I we do a book report, right? So, and right now the book that we're reading, which is one that I've read before, is The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F. I don't know. Have you read that, Dave?
I have the book. I have not read it, but I know what it is. Yeah.
So read it. Like the first chapter, I'm like, I don't need this right now. And then as it gets going, it's just it really is the mindset of, care, but don't care, and understand what care about what you need to care about. Don't care about what you don't need to care about. And like, for me, just again, going back with this interview that I had with Matt, I had to come up, I did my research on Matt because I interviewed him for the whole company. There are a lot of people on the call. I didn't want to mess around with it. And anytime you're preparing for one of those, types of calls, it's like me with the Sunday thoughts, right? When I write the Sunday thoughts, I have to think about them a heck of a lot more than anybody that's reading them. And if I'm interviewing Matt, I got to think about, his mindset and what he's doing. And one of the things that just came out of it for me is I don't need to, like, my identity is who I am is not attached to an interest rate or a borrower. And as I've made some tweaks and it's kind of working. Like, I think this is a weird time where it's like, I don't want to say you play hard to get, but, I had an example last week, Dave, where I called the client and, this literally happened where I got this return phone call last night. I called this client and she said, "Hey, Hunter, I just got off the phone with this other lender who I know is a competitor, who I know obviously the realtor gave them both names, which they have every right to do if they want. But instead of arguing like why she should work with me, I just flat out said to her, did you enjoy the conversation with the other person?" She said, "Yeah, it was okay." I said, "Okay, well, let's do this. You think, if you have any other questions, if you want to talk to me at some point in the future, feel free. But if you want to go down the path with that other person, that's fine with me." Because she sounded like she was in a bit of a hurry. And I said, "Do you have any other questions, or do you want to just jump off the phone?" She said, "No, I'm good, but I really appreciate it, blah, blah, blah." So I get a call back last night and she said, "Hunter, is there any way I could talk to you?" And I said, "Well, yeah, of course." So what's going on? And she just said to me, she said, the way that you handled that conversation on Wednesday made me want to talk to you more. And I just thought to myself, I'm like, well, that's, and I was just so casual about it. So I just said, I'm like, well, hey, if you want to keep talking, we can, I would love the opportunity to work with you. So let's keep going. And now, she's got the loan app, she's moving forward with me. And I just, it's kind of a hard thing to explain, but I just think there's so much pressure. I think people feel so much pressure right now. We need to take that down, and how, the messaging that we're delivering really to ourselves, and that it's not our net worth. People's income is down. I get it, right? People have to pay bills. I get that too. But when you take a lighter approach on yourself and care a little bit less about the intensity that you're bringing to every conversation. Our goal is to put people, you talk about advice, you talk about, trust, right? If people feel a little lighter, a little more relaxed around you, they're going to trust you more. They're going to trust you with the advice that you give them. And that's what I've been working on it the last couple of weeks, and I can see a difference. So anyway, does that make sense, Dave?
It makes perfect sense. But I think at the end of the day, because you were you're such peace with yourself as a leader, and you've gotten to a point where you can show up that way for someone. I know you've got something, just a philosophy that what's worked in the past isn't going to work in the future. Loan application and rate quotes. What what are you thinking when I say that?
I'm thinking that, and I know I talk about this all the time, but I guess that's okay, right? We repeat the same things that hopefully work. You talk about advice and data. I talk about uncommoditizing ourselves, right? And if you are literally sending out loan applications without talking to clients, and you are providing rate quotes through email without talking to clients, in my opinion, you're screwed. I think that's the hard thing about this environment, is that there are people that have to look in the mirror and say, like, when you talk about the business going from 4 trillion to 2 trillion, that means that there is going to be a reasonable amount of washout. There's just no way around it, right? So if you're not going to be one of the people that gets washed out, then you have to be better than you've ever been. That's a fact. So when I talk about uncommoditizing, like, we have to be aware of what we are doing. And if we're not, like, I'll give you an example, Dave. I had this realtor that I've been trying to meet with forever. He finally met with me. And he said, we get done with lunch, and he says, well, let's role play. And I kind of thought, like, I mean, me coaching, I've role played enough. I could go on the spot and role play without an issue. But when I said that to him, I said, okay, well, let's role play. What do you want to role play about? He said, no, I want you to go back to your office, and I want you to treat me like a client. I want you to treat me like a lead, and I want to see what your process feels like. And it was like, holy crap. Like, it was I would challenge everybody that's watching this and listening to this to literally start. It's one of the things that Matt and I talked about too, is one of the things that he told me. It's like, everybody should be able to whiteboard out what their process looks like from start to finish, and what the conversation looks like up front, the lead intake. I talk about these every call that I do it's one of the things I promise my business partners, is that I will work to convert every opportunity up front. It's understanding who they are. It's understanding what they're trying to accomplish. It's understanding, I'm literally trying to gauge their personality type. I've sent them to you before, David. It's those notes that I then forward to my business partners after the call, but it also helps me, one, remember it for myself, two, help my team set them up for success. The point, though, is that if you're not having those upfront conversations right now, if you're not gauging what type of a client you have, I think you're screwed. So, but going through, for everybody to go, like, I think my process is pretty dialed in. It's amazing how not dialed in it is when you have to role play with a business partner that you're trying to get business from. So I would challenge everybody to go through that experience.
Yeah, and just to bring everybody up to speed, Hunter has referenced Matt a couple times. It's Matt Weaver, who is the #1 loan officer at Cross Country, also the #1 purchase loan officer in the country. And then you mentioned also that his production wasn't down. Like, he did 1,500 loans in 2022, and that wasn't a whole lot different than what he did in 2021. So one of the things that inspired this conversation was Hunter has something called Sunday Thoughts, which I've interviewed him on his Sunday Thoughts many times. It's one of the reasons why I said leadership is just something that is core to who you are, and every Sunday, for how many years have you been doing your Sunday Thoughts?
I think it's like 10 years now. I think, like, the first one went out in 2013.
Yeah, and while there's been Sundays that he's missed, most of the time on Sunday, he takes the time to put pen to paper and to share a lesson, share what's going on in his world in a way that's extremely transparent and shows humility. And then he always turns it into, hey, lessons that I'm using to be a better man, to be a better husband, to be a better mortgage professional. And this Sunday, it was lessons from top dog, Matt Weaver. So anyways, just, I always applaud you, Hunter. I love your Sunday Thoughts. I read them every Sunday. And let's face it, we live in a world where we all get lots of emails.
Yeah.
There's not, I don't know if there's any other emails I really read on Sundays, but I like, what's Hunter? Oh, Dan Rawich sends a, kind of a debrief for the week. And I always set aside 10 to 20 minutes for Dan at the end of the day.
I don't get that. I like Dan. I don't get his emails. I'll have to
Yeah,
start.
go to marketmentorship.com. He's got a little premium, not little, it's a badass premium solution. I mean, he's been doing our rate watch for, I think, over 15, maybe close to 20 years, but he has a premium solution. It's like that, it's less than $20 a month. And one of the things is Dan does a, kind of a, and it's not only what you need to know as a mortgage badass, but also some good investment advice. I listen to it as an investor. Anyways, anything you want to call out on that interview for Matt and that Sunday thought, anything you think is just important in the context of turning leadership into a competitive advantage, anything you want to call out?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a few different things. One of the things we talk, it's like, someone that's closing 100+ loans a month, it's like, it's hard to relate to that for other loan officers around the country, right? So it's like, what do you take from Matt that you're not going to try to narrow down what he's doing as it relates to his process in a 30-minute time frame. So we were talking about some big picture things. I think, for me, the number one thing is just that this guy's mindset on winning is crazy. And it's not, there's a difference. There's a difference between, arrogance. He's not arrogant at all. He was super cool, but he literally, all he talks about is winning. And, and I wouldn't say he would say winning at all costs. I'd say the guy has integrity. He's not going to cheat to win, but his mindset in this market on winning, no negativity in his office. He doesn't talk to loan officers. He doesn't talk to his business partners about he looks at an increased interest rate as an opportunity for more inventory for his buyers, as an example. And I think, for me, I took the same messaging back to my team, which was just, we're not going negative on anything, and we're not going excuses. One of the things that I've talked about, Dave, is I have every excuse, right? I mean, we've got no inventory, we've got higher interest rates. Our company was acquired by Cross Country. So you're dealing with transitions, I lost my dad, all these things, right? But I think for all of us listening to this, you have to say all of your excuses don't help you earn a paycheck, period. Nothing you say, it could be valid. Inventory is in fact zero, right? Interest rates are in fact up. It doesn't solve my problem, though, of creating income for myself, and it doesn't help me create more clients. So his mindset of no excuses in winning is something that you kind of have to, you got to let it sit and digest a little bit. But when you get to the point where you're like, okay, that makes sense. It makes sense to every single time you think of an excuse of why you can't do something, of why you can't help a client, why your rates are too high, why this, whatever. It just goes back to just be better. Instead of thinking of excuses for yourself, just be better. And that's what he's done, right? I mean, there's no way you can't argue about the fact the guy did 550, literally, he was within a guy that did $550 million in production was within $200,000 of total production in 2021 and 2022. So you can't look at anything other than the fact that what he's doing, he's not just preaching it, he's actually delivering on it. That to me was the biggest thing. I think also, go ahead.
Real quick, before you go past that, I actually am going to be interviewing Shop Benoshian. I don't know, sometime soon he's on the show. And I've interviewed Shop before. And one of the things is, and again, it looks like, him and Matt are the two top purchase lenders in the country, and so, one of the things that always strikes me is his humility, and what a humble dude he is. So what do you think, going from the conversation you had, was kind of the distinctive characteristic as to why he didn't have a down year? Because I've interviewed a lot of loan officers. I interviewed a lot of $100 million producers last year. And I had a couple that didn't. Denise Donahue is one of them, that did not have a down year. And I've got some thoughts on what distinguishes her and why she didn't? What would you guess was why Matt didn't have as big a down year as other folks?
Because the way that he says it, and I don't, like, from a pure tactical operational perspective, I don't know the answer to that. I would say what he looked at it and said, if the market, he's trying to grow his business 15 to 20% a year. So if the market's down 30%, he needs to grow his business 50%, is how he looks at it. So I would just say he is singular focused on realtors. He talks about singular focus, and this is something that I'm working with my team on. I'm sitting up here in Napa at a realtor's, good friend of mine's place, for me to just digest for a few days by myself. And some of the stuff that Matt was talking about, singular focus on how he can be more useful and more valuable to his business partners. He literally doesn't, I don't know what the exact number is, but it's something like, when rates were at 3%, his volume was 88 or 90 or 92% purchase. And when I went to him to say, Matt, why wouldn't you take advantage of like interest rates? Like, why wouldn't you refinance? Right? I mean, why wouldn't you do that? And his mindset is, he said it flat out. He goes, Hunter, you're not hearing me. My business part, like, how does me doing a refinance for a client help my business partner buy or sell more homes? And when that hit me, it's like, he's right. Like, he's so laser focused just on one thing. And the other thing, Dave, that he does that I think is incredibly important, he calls it think time. He spends 30 minutes a day thinking about what he can do to be more successful, to help his business partners be more successful. And it's like, I would just challenge anybody on this call, including you and me. It's like, if you spent 30 minutes a day figuring out, if I spent 30 minutes a day on my own business, figuring out how to help my business partners be more successful, you can't help but blow up. So that's what I would say with him. Why he didn't drop is a combination of his mindset on his singularity of purpose on helping business partners, his discipline in doing the same things every single day that he knows that he needs to be doing, his mindset with his team on winning and his messaging. You can't get the guy to not smile. You can't get the guy to not talk about, if I text him, he fires back every single time with winning, like winning more, be better. It's just like, he's like a machine. So that's what I would say.
So first of all, I'd love for you to introduce me to him. I'd love to interview him at some point and really unpack his magic. Denise Donahue is someone who didn't go down, her volume didn't go down. And while she does, clients for life practice, and, I can make a case that having a client for life practice and having team around that actually does help realtors, but she has the same maniacal focus on building community with her realtors. She's got a realtor Facebook group, and it's not about the technology, it's not about social media, it's about the community and the value. She builds personal brand, the mortgage nerd, and she helps her realtors build personal brands. She delivers advice, and she delivers a great service experience. She's got just a tremendous amount of online reviews, but it all kind of comes to that cornerstone of to have incredible realtor referrals and partnership community. So there's no doubt the health of those agent relationships, and also the quality of those agent. Do you have the right realtors? Because the realtors that are killing it in 2023 or in 2022 aren't necessarily the realtors that were killing it in 2020, 2021, and 2019. Like, there is a changing of the guard even in real estate. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's a great point, because, this goes back to purpose versus, I talk about purpose versus process, right? Like process is great, but if you keep doing the same thing and you're not getting any better results, you got to go, I need to tweak something and rethink, which to me is the purpose of it. And yes, my team and I absolutely have noticed, you talk about, we were talking about leading, yesterday, I think we talked about kind of leading our realtors and one of the questions that I asked Matt, right, when he was talking about doing his 30 minutes of thought process a day, I said to him, like, how do you know when something's working and when something's not working? And he said it's just simple. It's feedback, right? It's looking at its results and its feedback. And I have noticed where we are gaining momentum and where I am seeing it is the young, and I should say young, new, whatever, and hungry realtors that are getting after open houses, right? Like I was looking at our lead tracker, and all of a sudden I'm like, wait a second, there's 4 new realtors who we have not worked with closely, who I want to say gave us 20 leads in April. And it made me think, like, what are these people doing? And they're hungry, they're professional, they're committed to being in real estate, and they're working the hell out of open houses. And and by the way, they're also, they're attracted to us because I think you and I, it's like, are you on your heels right now, or are you kind of driving? Are you driving forward, right? Like when things get slow, people get crappy, right? I always use the example of Kim and I going into a Mexican restaurant in Danville. There's literally 2 bartenders, 4 servers, and a busboy. And it took us 10, 15 minutes to get chips and salsa. Like, I finally just got up and walked out. It's like, that is, to me, that's the lending community right now for a lot of people, right? Like, you're on your heels, you're slower to respond to people, you're slower to convert your leads, you're just off your game. And I'm trying not to be off our game right now. And these realtors that we're communicating with are saying, they're like, you guys execute at a different level than anything we've seen. And so now, so they're excited, we're excited, they're young, they're hungry. And yes, I think that we have to identify, there's going to be, if there's fallout on lenders, there's going to be a fallout on a lot of realtors too. Calling a realtor every single week that doesn't close any business isn't going to help you. So yes, being way more purposeful with identifying who you're working with, for sure.
Okay. So we're 1 minute until we're at halftime. So I'm going to do a quick little halftime debrief, guys. So number 1, self-leadership, have a short-term memory, and just get after it. Have a winning attitude. You're whatever you want. If you want to be number 1, you're going to be number 1. If you're persistent, strong enough. If you just want to be in the top 10%, hey, that's great. Be in the top 10%. But if there's any one book that I would push y'all to read and remind yourself to read, is the 4 Agreements. Don't take anything personally. Don't make any assumptions. Be impeccable with your word, and do your best. Like, those 4 agreements are everything you need for self-leadership in a really brutal market like this. Have a maniacal focus. Realtors are still the alpha partner. I would make the case that if you want to make realtors your number 1 focus, you should also make your database a top priority, because you're going to be getting leads from that database that you can bring to your agents. I mean, I've got access to all the data now, and it's shocking how many of the cash out alerts at Trust Engine are turning into purchases. The majority of them, people are like, I'm going to take all my cash out, and then they're buying another house for 5% down. There's a listing and there's a sale with a lot of these cash out alerts. So make a focus. I love the avatar of focusing on next gen realtors, because I recently got Realtor.com said there's going to be 30 million next gen home buyers, or excuse me, Gen Z home buyers over the next 5 years. That's people the age of 18 and 25, 30 million homes over the next 5 years. So I love focusing on realtors in that demographic, because who do you think is going to get most of those Gen Z home buyers, but Gen Z realtors? Right. And I love anyone that's a baller out there working open houses. That's where the pulse of the market is. Let's face it, when someone starts thinking about buying a home, we can't see that. Even at Trust Engine, we can't see that. When someone starts looking up homes on unnamed apps a little more. We don't know who that is. Those unnamed apps know who that is. When people start driving around, we can't track that, but you know what? They go into an open house, we can start tracking that. Like that is the earliest signal of home buyers is they're out hitting open houses. So Gen Z agents that are ballers that are going after that first signal home buyer. I love that. So let's for the next 15 minutes, let's go tactical. Like we've gone leadership. Let's go. What are some tactics that you're deploying to recruit these realtors, to build credibility with these realtors, to win? What are you doing?
So a few things. One is, again, I'll keep referencing the Matt conversation just because I think it creates validity for everything that we're talking about, which is going back to the basics, right? Like when I am winning opportunities right now. I've had 3 good-sized realtors reach out to me to meet with me based on our execution, literally just doing what we said we were going to do, right? It's the pre-approval, it's the calling the listing agent, it's the Tuesday updates to give them an understanding of where they are every single time. It's closing on time. It's proactive communication. I mean, those literally, and that's what I mean, by the way, Dave, where these people that are reaching out, these 3 people that reached out to me, they have been around for a while. These aren't the Gen Z people that I'm talking about. These are 3 really established realtors, 50 years old, whatever. They have fallen out of relationship with their existing lender. And I know these lenders for a long period of time because they are simply taking their eye off the ball. So I would just say for everybody, we have to be, how about this? One of my old coaching students responded back to me off of a Sunday Thoughts that I sent a few weeks ago. She's super cool gal. I like her a lot, but she goes, Hunter, I need a pep talk. One of my best realtors said to me, "You're not as valuable to me as you think you are." I mean, that is not like that hurts. And I also don't think that we could all take a better message to ourselves to challenge ourselves with how valuable are we to our business partners, and be real. If you're not, you need to identify what it is that makes you valuable. So, tactics are hard, Dave. I mean, it's our process are our tactics, right? I would say another tactic that I just used, going back to Matt on, okay, what works, what doesn't work, and recognizing what's working. Personal videos. I'm literally now, I think I send more videos now than I do emails, and using that as an opportunity to build rapport with people. Give you an example. I had a lead just ghost us for a month, nice intro from one of my favorite business partners. This guy just ghosted us, so I just, like Erica and Bridget and I were going through all of our leads. It's another thing I would say right now, go through your leads every single day. Like if you're not looking at your leads every single day, saying which ones are moving, which ones aren't, and feeling like you're on top of your business and updating your business partners on where you are with those leads. But I just sent the guy a video. I just said, hey, Jack, it's Hunter Marckwardt at CCM. I'm a real person. Just wanted you to see my face. If you want to talk about buying a home, we're here for you. If you don't, no problem. But I just wanted to reach out one last time. We don't want to stalk you, but just let me know if you got this. If you want to talk, we're here. If not, that's okay. He responded back like within an hour saying, Hunter, sorry, we were way over our skis. We're not in the market to buy right now. But by the way, super impressed with your video. I promise we'll be in touch the second we decide we want to buy a house. And it's just like, it's not a big deal, Dave, but it's like, okay, I know that those single videos are working, right? And you have to establish, you talk about advice and data, you got to go advice, you got to go data, and you got to go personal relationships. If you're not doing that, if you're not personalizing the experience for a buyer, if they're not rooting for you to be their business partner that helps them get into their home, you're in trouble. So,
all right. So a couple insights I want to make sure everyone And I want you guys to write this down, like write down, you're not as valuable to me as you think you are. So now, by the way, for a realtor to get to the point where they actually said that out loud, like there's some real frustration and there's a call out, there's some conflict, but I'll bet you if you really be humble and you really think about it, think about the agents who just think that, they think that about loan officers. By the way, I bet you most realtors think that about loan officers. But here's the deal, guys. Not all realtors. There are some realtors that are like, you don't know my loan officer. You don't know my mortgage advisor. Just like people always pop off about attorneys, man, my attorneys are awesome. I mean, they are like game changers, the attorneys that I have relationships with. Now, I have worked with some attorneys that, no, I could make a lot of fun of them. But guys, I think that needs to be our goal, is how do we be even more valuable to an agent than they realize we can be? And to me, there's more than two paths, but two of those paths are data, like literally know your database and be able to know their database. Like, hey, if you refer someone to me, that's like, not only are you going to help me convert that client, not only are you going to help add to my 5 stars, but I'm going to get more referrals because I see you as someone that once they're in your system, they never leave. You're giving me an update when their equity goes up. You're giving me an update when, someone, they have a kid, they get a new job. You're getting all the data, and the realtor's keeping you updated. And then your advice makes a difference. I believe that is the value proposition that I founded MortgageCoach on 26 years ago. But I truly believe that in this AI era, where technology is really taking over, I think the only thing we have left is local referral-based professionals, is our EQ, our emotional, ability to connect emotionally, and our advice, like being able to deliver real tangible advice to a consumer. So how are you delivering advice? And what comes to your mind when I say all that, Hunter?
Well, the biggest thing I have, and I'm sitting here in this beautiful house, and it's my number one referral partner, right? Like you talk about the relationship piece of it. And I mean, obviously she's not here. She gave me the house for a week. But
that's nice.
It's amazing. She's a $400 million producer. But here's the thing, and it relates to our relationship too, because I actually reached out to her. I'm in a jumbo market, right? Like I get crushed. Like the market right now, rates, they're going to come in and out, right? There's going to be times where, I just had it happen where we were off by a point in rate because these people had their company had a relationship with a big bank's looking for deposits, all that kind of stuff. And I think for so many people right now, it's going back into our communication we need to think what the client is going to call the agent back with. What feedback are they going to give our realtors on their communication with us? And that to me is, you're not as valuable as you think you are, or you're more valuable than you understand, based on knowing what the messaging is that goes back to the business partner. And what I mean by that right now, Dave, in particular, is we're taking a softer approach to say, look, if I'm looking at your finances, right? If I just know that all someone wants is a rate quote, it could turn into, hey, Dave, my goal, my purpose is to support X business partner. If that's helping you find the best deal, or if it's telling you to go directly to your bank that you have $500,000 with, we're going to be the first ones to tell you to do that, and not act like I need to close every single loan, as opposed to I need to be the advisor to every single client, so that they give my name out with, like, this gal refers me by saying, do me a favor, just start with Hunter. He will advise you on what is best to do, period. If that's working with him, he will tell you. If it's not working with him, he will tell you that too. And what that allows us to do to not have to close every single loan is super impactful. So, I mean, obviously we make a living off of, I mean, I can't not do every single, I want to do as many loans as I can, but advising people in this environment, I think one of the things that is making people, realtors attracted to us right now is that we are the voice of reason. We are a sense of calm. Everyone thinks that they've got, you know, I laughed at one point that I think like that there was a stadium of 30,000 realtors and there was a speech about how Hunter Marckwardt had the highest interest rates in the video in the industry. It was like a nightmare of mine. That's not happening. You know, I mean, it's like these banks come in and out. People have problems, right? I mean, someone decides that they want more loans, then all of a sudden they raise or they want less loans. All of a sudden they raise their interest rates or they get more conservative, right? I talked to a client the other day. Realtor called me and said, Hunter, this guy's not, you're going to hate this guy. I was like, okay, well, thanks for that. But he's a CEO of a software company, right? And a very big bank, had a very, very good interest rate. But I just said to him, like, is there any reason that why are you talking to me? If they have X rate, why are you talking to me? And he said, well, the truth is, Hunter, is that they want me to put 30% down. In order for me to put 30% down, I need to sell X amount of private stock. And I don't want to do that. And it's like, okay, so now we've identified what he's trying to accomplish. We're able to put 20% down. His rate's a little bit higher. Interest rates will come back down. Hopefully we'll refinance him, but he literally didn't have to sell what he deemed $1 million worth of stock in order to get the lower to get the lower down payment. So it's just it's taking a calm approach, just saying, hey, Dave, like why are we talking? Like, what is it that you need from me? You know, I don't know. I'm babbling right now, but I feel like just having these, I feel like I've been working on just being lighter about this whole thing, and not that I care less, but just being more of an advisor to people, and it's working. Just having conversations with people, putting them at ease, helping them find solutions. And if I'm the lender for it, I'm the lender. And if I'm not, I'm not. But the messaging goes back to the business partner that guy, his team, Erica, my partner, like those people care about what is in our best interest. And that's what we need our business partners believing.
All right, so let's get a little more tactical going into the fourth quarter now. In 1 minute, we will be in Q4 of this interview. So I took away from, we need to ask why a little bit more. And sometimes it's, why are you talking to me? And sometimes it's, why are you buying a home? And what is your real estate plans over the next 20 years? Like, it's going beyond the transaction, because if Hunter was just living in transaction mode, he would have been trying to compete with that interest rate. It'd been like, but he wasn't. He was like, he was looking for a way to find a problem that he could deliver advice on. So let's, any other advice stories and any examples, of how you're using MortgageCoach in this market to deliver?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've told you, Dave, and I've told, everybody on this, that listens to this, like Dave and I have been very good friends for, 8-10 years now. I've used,
I still remember we became friends. I don't know how many years ago, but it was at a I don't know, your annual event in Napa. You and I were sitting next to each other, and I still remember some of the funny things you told me. We'll talk about that over a bottle of wine sometime soon, but that we became friends that day. Like, we went from, I know you and I know you're a badass, to like, oh dude, we're bros.
Yeah. So no, I mean, obviously we're here on a MortgageCoach trust engine call. So it's not like I'm not going to endorse it, but like over time, I have gone, like, I am finally a believer, right? Like I'm finally someone where I think it took Dave, we'd be on these calls and the team used MortgageCoach to, it's like when someone wanted to see the numbers in writing, we would send MortgageCoach, Now it is literally every single deal we are sending out MortgageCoach. And I do think, my mindset has gone, and this is something that I think is important to people. I think, like, we don't want to talk about interest rates because we don't know where they are, and we're worried about whether or not we're going to get shopped. We're worried about all this stuff. we literally, every single time we make an offer for someone, we put together a mortgage coach for them. We update them before the offer goes in. And what people don't realize, like we run from the rate conversation because we're worried about getting shopped. When these people, and by the way, we get shopped and we lose deals all the time. So I'm not making it sound like it's an oasis over here, but we go through Mortgage Coach every single time we put an offer in. So if someone has put in, granted, we don't want someone to put in 10 offers, it means we're not doing something right. But when you're giving people updates on the Mortgage Coach as to what everything is going to look like, what payments are going to look like, what cash to close is going to look like, first of all, it makes the lock call 5 minutes instead of 2 hours of negotiation because they already know what to expect with the rates that you provided them. And I also think, Dave, it really is. The feedback that we get every single time, and Erica's the one that does our Mortgage Coaches, but she doesn't like to be on video, but she does the voice, right? And she walks them through whatever scenarios it is, right? We just did one. I think I sent you one day where it's a 2-1 buy down. There's another one I wanted to do today where we're looking at, 30-year with 0 points with 1 point and a 7-1 arm. For this guy, very smart guy, to review the numbers with us. And
I just pulled it up on the screen, and do want to just call out, like at the bottom, you can tell she's doing.
Hi, Lauren and Jamie. We wanted to get you out of all of.
She's doing voice notes, So, anyways, what are we looking at here, by the way?
Yeah, we're just looking at a buy down, and being able to put this stuff in writing, which, by the way, most people, we've got a jumbo 2-1 buy down. Most people don't think it exists. It does. And the client literally, we've got okay, so I'll give you another tactic that I heard from Matt. Matt helps he is involved, according to him, in every offer that is being submitted. So when we talk about a tactic, and us thinking it on this one is a tactic, a lot of people would say there's no inventory, it's a seller's market. This particular seller has had this house listed for a couple months. They are more apt to doing a credit for a buy down for our client. So I think us understanding on an individual basis how to structure the best offer for our client and what the seller's needs are, and working with both parties to get involved with how to create the best offer. This offer was accepted, and we're moving forward with it. So, that's it. We're just, we're showing them obviously that.
Are you doing a lot of these 2-1 buy downs where you're like, hey, this
no,
is 20?
Not right now. Because it really is mostly, it is a seller's market, right? So we're having less opportunity. We were doing them back in, I want to say probably January. But no, as it's moved back, kind of feels like more of a seller's market right now. We're doing less of them. So
One of the things.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, you go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, when we're doing less of them, but understand, like our client here, it's kind of a balance, right? Like you don't want to be, you want to be humble, and at the same time, you do want them to believe that, you're offering stuff that other people aren't suggesting to them. Nobody else is suggesting a 2-1 buy down because everyone else is not taking the time to understand the seller's, this is a seller that needs to sell, and the house isn't selling. So we have more negotiation power, which allows for them to do a, $25,000 credit for a buy down.
So I've been hearing a lot of our customers, when they get the listing alert, we provide a listing alert that literally is updated daily, like our inquiry alerts get updated 5 times a day, so that if someone, one of your past customers runs a credit report in the morning, you'll find out by noon. A lot of service providers, it's weekly, so you find out like 3 days later. But our listing alerts hit daily, and one of the things that they're doing is creating one TCA for the listing agent. Hey, congratulations on the listing. Here's some ideas to help you position that thing in this market, and then one TCA for the seller saying, hey, congrats on this next chapter, and here's some ideas for your next house. What are your thoughts on kind of being proactive, and when you get that listing alert that someone listed in your database, to to kind of have a realtor action and have a seller action. You like that idea? What are your thoughts?
I do. Yeah. I mean, it's the only thing with me, Dave, is I like people to look forward to my information. So there's a balance to me of being proactive in providing information that people are expecting versus like, dude, why are you emailing? Why are you doing this?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Well, let me know if you do anything with that idea. So we got 8 minutes left. I know you had, a lot of ideas to share. Anything that you want to make sure we cover before we run out of time that you want to share?
I would just say, I would just push everybody with what's working for me right now is this whole, I think my coaching students are tired of me talking about it, but the whole, we need to replace email with personal videos, with content that matters, with, literally I got off the phone before our call today. I called a listing agent to get an offer accepted. He was excited for my phone call. Had he not picked up, I would have turned around and I would have sent him a video that said something like, hey, Dave, just wanted, I'm Hunter Marckwardt, wanting to let you know, I know I'm not in the market that you're in. I know realtors are normally worried about that. Here's our, brief resume on as I've worked with the agent for the past 10 years. She's unbelievable. The clients are fully underwritten. They're very good friends with the realtor. I don't like to make calls if I'm not, if I'm concerned about the buyer and how serious they are. These buyers are phenomenal. If you want me to talk to your sellers, I'm more than happy to, and just call me with any questions. Those videos where it's not just all bubbles and, hey, how are you? We're excited to do this, right? But I mean, it's like you're providing it's value. Yeah. It's another thing Matt said, by the way, was bedside. He talked about bedside manner. And I think for a lot of us, he and I were laughing on a kind of preparation call for it on hey bro, what's up, man? We haven't done a deal in a while. Like in his mind, he's just like, bro, like a deal? Like, what are you talking about? Like, one of my first realtors, Jack Schlendorf, awesome guy. I called him. I'm like, hey man, thanks for our first deal. And he was this old guy. And he's like, hey Hunter, let's just be clear. It's not a deal. These people just acquired a home and used you to finance it. It's bigger than a deal. And ever since he said that to me, I was like, oh my God, like he's so right. So I think our bedside manner, we talk about being better, our bedside manner, how we're communicating with people, these videos that we're sending, like if we could all have a little thing on our shoulder that said, what is the purpose of this activity right now, and execute on it accordingly, including being professional, that matters. Like those are the things that are going to make you more relevant more valuable to someone moving forward. So I think we need to look for, we need to tweak our activities. We need to do a lot more personalization. I agree with you 100%. Same gal that owns this house. I said to her a couple of weeks ago, I said, hey, I know what's going on with rates, right? Like this is like, I lost one by a point because of this personal relationship with the company. And I'm like, I've got my own insecurities up to go. I can't have her thinking that I got worse rates. I can't have, so I said, I'm like, hey, what do you need from me? I want to continue to be, useful and valuable to you. What else do you need from me? And it was the same conversation, Hunter, the same conversations that you have with our clients, and you doing what's in their best interest versus what's in your best interest. And you keeping me up to date on data, literally, Dave, that's what she said. You keeping me up to date on data that I can provide my buyers and sellers. That's what makes you useful to me. So
guys, that's micro content right there. Like if you're going to thrive in this era, you need to be valuable to every consumer. You need to go beyond delivering rates, fees, and this is what it costs to close a loan. These are not files, these are families. And you need to be dedicated to a family's long-term financial well-being. I mean, that's why our mission at Trust Engine is, all borrowers can achieve financial freedom through advice. So, I actually was in Denver last week, and we had Gavin Ekstrom come in and speak to our executive team. We were doing a leadership summit, and I had, our head of product, our VP of technology, our marketing, our CRO, all of our folks. and we interviewed Gavin for 2 hours, and some of it was just showing him our roadmap and having him give like what he thought of it. But guys, we believe that the future of lending, it's not about nurturing emails. Hunter made this comment like, I want to know someone wants me. And so if we're going to be valuable, we need to be following our data signals so that we can reach out at the right time with value, like not top of mind marketing, but actual consumer value. And at the end of the day, obviously low rate is valuable, but what's more valuable? It's advice that creates financial freedom. Like when you can actually help someone achieve financial freedom faster because of your advice and your coaching over time, that is more valuable. So Hunter, one question, and then I'm gonna let you do the closing thought. Would you be game? We're doing some, having our product team is having some conversations with people that I just think are, elite. Would you mind doing a conversation with our product team? And it'd just be them interviewing you for what we're doing and how we're designing the future of our platform. Would you be game for one of those?
Do you set up your calls so that you ask me in front of other people so I can't say no? I'm just kidding. Of course, no. I'd be honored.
Well, I knew I had you at hello. I just wanted to make sure I checked it off before
I would be honored. I would be absolutely honored. And Dave, not even closing out, but just in what you're saying, I think for everybody listening to this, I'll just keep saying, going back to Matt, like my initial reaction when I first started talking to Matt was, yeah, that doesn't work in my market. Yeah, that thought process wouldn't work with me. That wouldn't. So when I just heard you say, like, creating financial freedom for people. And I can imagine people saying, yeah, whatever, dude, I do a loan, right? I just do a loan. And if that's your mindset, you're effed. Right? Like you have to believe that you have the ability to help people understand their finances in a different light than an online bank that's not going to provide, a single voice, but you're going to do everything online. So I think for all of us to be better moving forward, you have to have the mindset that you do have the ability to have an impact on someone's life as it relates to their mortgage. We have to be better. We have to be more professional. We have to have tools. We have to utilize tools like MortgageCoach. We have to be better students of our trade and read data, provide data for people. We have to get to know our clients on an individual basis and understand what their wants and needs are. And not every client's going to be for us. Not everybody wants to have that relationship with their lender, and that's okay too. But identify which ones are which, and make sure you put your best foot forward on the ones that do. So,
all right, guys. So here's my wrap up. So first of all, go to savageinsights.com. Whatever my next interview is always at the top. This will go away. I'll actually put the recording of Hunter up here. Whatever I think some of the best interviews are. I interviewed Kyle Wright. He's been in the business for 5 years. He's American Pacific's #1 loan officer, and he's closing 47 loans this month. And I interviewed him on how is he closing 47 loans this month. So check that out. Make sure you are staying tuned into this channel. Like here at Trust Engine, we're dedicated to making your advice matter. We're dedicated to helping consumers achieve financial freedom. I just released the interview I did with Steve Brown, who was the former futurist of Intel. Most recently, he was undercover with Google's AI group, DeepMind. And I did a full hour interview, or no, it was a 40-minute interview with this guy on how is AI going to impact lending, loan officers and lenders, and what you should do. And if you don't do it, what's at risk? So check that out, guys. Hunter, I'm just super grateful for you, bro. If everybody who's on this, use your little emojis. Hunter's getting a heart from me, but let Hunter know what you thought of today's conversation. And appreciate everyone that tunes in to this channel. Hunter Marckwardt, I'm looking forward to our next time together, brother.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate you.
Your leadership makes a difference.
Thanks, Dave. We'll talk to everyone later. Thanks for watching.